Time slipped up on me.
And that's why I needed the Crisco oil.
There it is. I found it.
Dude, it chafes if it's anything else.
All right, come on now.
And the bacon smell.
We're live.
What?
Q's being weird, guys.
I was just finishing the story.
Whoa. And
Last
some
time
feedback from Bloodaxe.
No, last time we went live, somebody was dropping F-bombs in the first 60 seconds.
That was you.
No, it wasn't me.
Now, last time the one to drop things was you first, but it wasn't an F-bomb. It was something else. I forget what it was.
Yeah, what an F-bomb. I have an F-bomb.
But don't try to think too hard because you'll
do it again.
You'll do it again. Yeah.
Sure. You were not very sorry. I remember that too.
Yeah, you were in a mood.
I remember it was anatomical reference. I remember what that was.
Yeah, that's right. You are correct.
You were like, man, you weren't feeling monetization that time. You were just like, man, forget that.
Yeah.
But if they demonetize me for Crisco oil, then I'm gonna call racism. I'm gonna throw my card out there. And be like, yo, what? What? Because I'm black? What, was this supposed to be virgin olive oil? What's the problem with Crisco? We grew up with Crisco.
All righty. So let's get started, I guess. All right. So first up we have I guess I should do the intro. Welcome to Dicejunkies. I'm Xenodamus. I'm here with
Q.
And on Skype
we have Bloodaxe.
All right, let's get started. First up we have anime convention bans non-manga character cosplays. Boise-based convention Neo Anime Oasis implements a strict dress code banning non-manga and anime cosplays and receives some heavy backlash from fans.
As per CBR.com. Since you just read that straight word for word. Like, as per CBR.com.
Well, I mean, I'm about to pop it up here, and also, I mean, it's the headline.
By Sean McDonald.
Anyway, so basically what this is about, here's the actual
Twitter post.
Yeah, which I think I clicked the user instead of the actual post. Here we go.
We don't tweet much. Our Twitter guy's Bloodaxe. We don't even know how to use it.
I will say, like, I don't mind a con having a theme. Now, here's the thing. You're limiting your customer base by doing this, and honestly, if you really wanted to try to promote anime only, then say our cosplay contest is for this theme, you know, because a lot of your cosplayers then are gonna make sure to go in that theme, but you're not isolating people who just want to show up in whatever. Because a lot of the people that show up in cosplay don't necessarily go for the events, you know, or a contest or stuff like that. But if you theme the contest a certain way, you're going to have more, you know. And when you have more people, oh, well, man, I go to this con, it's a lot of anime cosplay. Maybe next time I go, I'll do anime cosplay. And you create a community instead of try to shoehorn one, and that's I think that's why they caused the uproar. Also, several people
presentation, man.
Yeah, several people mentioned that the way they worded it was very whiny and
I know, like temper tantrum, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
temper
they're
tantrum.
basically like, why are you even showing up in this?
Yeah,
don't even show up at all. And in one line, I believe later on, basically goes, find yourself another con if you have a problem with that. And I'm just like, that is not the attitude to have, because I'm going to tell you right now, if you do not know, my whole beef with Sony didn't start because of any of this other stuff. It all started when was it PS3 or 4, I think, when they came out. They did $100 more than the Xbox comparative system, which I didn't have a problem with until they said, when people said, hey, why are you charging more? That's a bit expensive. And they said, you're going to pay what we ask you to pay. You're going to pay it because because you want it. You're going to pay it. And I'm like, no, I'm not.
Yeah.
You don't treat me like this, and you want my money.
Well, it's also
And it's been a year long. It's been years of grudge just because they tried to act like that.
I mean, you're also talking about a community that was built on inclusiveness, and cosplay has been fighting the inclusiveness thing for a long time. You know, you don't have to be a certain race or gender to cosplay certain characters.
Crossplay. It's called crossplay.
Yeah, you don't have to match, whatever to be this. Everybody, size and shape and all that doesn't matter. So you're taking a community that's supposed to be super inclusive and basically saying, well, we only want this type,
Because here what that opens the door to is the concept of, okay, well, what happens though if somebody shows up and they have a anime-themed costume, but it isn't accurate enough?
Yeah.
See how you open a door when you get judgmental, when you're going like, because the next thing is like, well, what if I decide to show up, but I want to do a variation on it? I want to do old man Deku. I want to be Deku, but I want to be old bitter Deku. Well, that's not accurate enough. We said anime theme. We want you to match the anime. Oh, now we're in a whole nother situation. So it is a bad precedent. I understand you going, guys, try to stay in theme. But the difference between try to stay in theme and we're going to do hallway dress code checks, which is in literal words at one point, is hallway dress code checks, which implies they're going to kick you out if they don't think you match it. And boy, you try to kick me out of a place I paid to be. We about to make the friggin' YouTube, boy. We'll jump up. You want to make that $1 million viewed video? Because it's going to look like a Dragon Ball Z tournament up in there. Because you better, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like you're asking for trouble. Because also, we all know what's going to happen, man. There's going to be a whole bunch of people going to show up. Probably not just to see what they do. I would. If I was going to go, I'd come out of costume on purpose. You know what I'm saying? Just on purpose, man. I'd show up as friggin' the least Japanese thing I could think of. Mm-hmm. I'd show up as Captain America.
Well, I mean, dude, this is a con that apparently they have this idea, and I understand. I like the concept of a community type con, but they seem to be wanting to force, like I said, shoehorn a community. This first thing, we don't want you if you only want to be there for one day. You got to be there for all 3 days. I mean, that's what the first one says. Attendees who want a complete 3-day weekend experience. Tickets sold for Neo Anime House must be picked up on Friday of the conventions. Refunds will not be issued for anyone who fails to do so, and one-day tickets are not offered. So basically, if you don't make it the first day, something happens, you're just screwed. You can't go the other 2 days.
Wow, no, it actually says, for those who want to attend for one day only, don't.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is interesting. I mean, and this doesn't really affect this Boise, but I mean, it's an interesting attitude to be inserted into the convention. And with conventions, look, a lot of conventions are dying right now, and you're trying to pull this shit is amazing.
Okay, I'm gonna check. Like, can I curse now? Because man, I'm going to go ahead. This is rare. This is not Sunday one. Yo, man, fuck you. No, talking about don't. You know how many of con? No, I'm sorry, dude, man. This is personal. We know a lot of people trying to keep their con alive right now.
Yeah, and you know what? These people won't be, and that's how it's going to end up. I'm not gonna be harsh to these people. I'm just gonna say I think they're making really bad business decisions.
Man, I don't like that attitude, man. Yeah. They all up in their own tail, man. You can take your anime con and you can stuff it. You feel like that, then why don't you just hold a little private party when you only invite the people that meet your standards?
Well, and that's the thing.
And don't charge for that trash.
Like I said, I think it's a bad business move. I don't know if
that is an ugly attitude, man.
It is, and
that is so hostile. I mean, I'm only angry because I can imagine there's people out there. Okay, there are a lot of people who go to cons, man, they're shy. They're uptight about social stuff. We're fine with this. We're not easily intimidated or bothered. But, man, that feels like rejection. I can see some people, man, that messes with them, that it's so hostile. Just ugly.
A lot of people have been against it. So, I mean, and that's what I'm saying. It probably won't last, dude. It's a bad call. Bloodaxe, what you got, man?
Well, I think everyone that watches the show regularly knows how I feel about anime, and it's just not something I'm remotely interested in. Furthermore, I like cons, and I enjoy going to cons, even though I have to ask you and Q, what's that costume referencing? And it's some random anime I never heard of before. Okay. Is that good? No, it's not good. Or, yeah, it's a pretty good job. Okay, cool.
But we have never told him it was. No. All costumes are equally. I'm lying my ass off. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead, man.
So,
we have opinions.
For someone who has multiple costumes, and none of my costumes are anywhere remotely near the anime realm, if I wanted to attend, I wouldn't, because number one, I'm not welcome, and everyone who's talked to me knows that I'm not going anywhere where I'm not welcome. So if I'm not welcome, or my kids or my friends aren't welcome, fine. You know what? We'll find something else to do. Furthermore, not everybody wants to go to 3 days, because normally Friday is boring as all get out. Everyone's still setting up. Not even all the vendors are there. Saturday is usually the big day, and nobody goes on Sunday.
Well, a lot of people have work and school on Friday too. So, I mean, it's sometimes hard to go on a Friday.
So I just think that all around it's a very poor business strategy, which is fine. It's your business. You run it the way you want to. But if a convention that we were going to would say, hey, Dicejunkies is welcome, but Bloodaxe can't come as an X-Wing pilot, I'd be like, you know what? Y'all got this. Y'all can cover it, and I'll catch y'all on the next one.
What are you talking about, man? We'd have a wonderful video of us at the bar out that night. We'd be out drinking. We'd invite anybody that didn't want to go to the con. Come drink with Dicejunkies. And we don't go where we're not wanted either. There's some people that know out there. We don't go. You don't want us.
And I will buy you a drink if you come dressed as non-anime.
Well, I mean, dude, we were asked to come to an event down on the coast, and it wasn't really our style, but we were like, well, we'll gladly cover it, but we don't do this dress code you have, and they were like, oh no, we know you guys are good,
Yeah. And we decided to be nice. We actually wore a button-up Dicejunkie shirt, but that's as far as it went. As far as it went was like, we got a shirt with buttons.
But anyway,
yeah, here we go.
The point is, I think this is bad.
It defeats the whole spirit of the convention. The convention, it brings people together. Now, I understand you got a theme, but offer benefits or suggest it. If you suggest it, people will usually try to work with you. But when you demand...
Well, this is the overall attitude of this more than anything else, dude. Because, I mean, if you start a con, if you're starting a brand new con and you're like, this is an anime con, we want anime, blah, 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 that's a different thing. But when you're like, we want this community only, and fuck you if you aren't.
Yeah.
That's not an attitude.
It's still a dress code. It is possible to do a dress code when you start a con off. But you don't have to be a jerk about it. And this 3-day thing, it's like, we don't even want you if you only can do 1 day. It's like, dude, that ain't easy to do. Some of us got kids, families. Heck, most of the, like you said, most of the sellers, I don't know, I can't get the word you just said. Most of the vendors and many of the cosplayers we know, man, they might get down Saturday. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's just, and I don't mean I probably don't do that for the vendors, but to say that to your customers, because here's the problem. We usually, because this dude is all, we don't know if it's this thing, like, I want to be there on time, and I want to be late. Y'all know how it is. I'm like, man, we can show up Friday night. He's like, nah, man, it starts Friday. We walk in, everybody there. We just sitting there. We sitting at the table. I'm looking at him. I'll be looking upside his head the whole time. Ain't nobody here, man. How much longer? But then he'll be like, all right, let's go get a drink. You know what I'm saying? But he don't ever want to be the one that's not there. I get it. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a good deal. But my point is that there ain't nobody there. Bloodaxe is right. Because Bloodaxe goes to conventions as a fan. Friday is dead. Sunday is dying. Saturday is hype. The only time I've seen a hype Friday is because the convention started Thursday. You know what I'm saying? You need a day to get in. So you're demanding people do a 3-day. But are you going to guarantee that every single guest and every single vendor is going to be there from the second you open? Because you can't guarantee that, then you're full of it. So I know I would, if lucky I ain't going, because I'm going to walk in and I better see every dang table has somebody at it. Or I'm going to go up there and be like, what's this about the 3-day, the big deal? You don't even have all your people here. See, that's hypocrisy. That's the kind of stuff that you yelled at.
I'm done talking about this one. I'm just
going
to
to
say
talking about it, man.
It's bad business.
And the sad part is we're big anime fans. Now, we're huge anime fans. Like
well, speaking of anime.
I know, you even watched a terrible one.
I even watched terrible. No.
We don't know yet. You haven't told us what you
All
think.
right. So this is something that we've talked about for a while, which is Trigun Stampede, which is the new reboot of Trigun.
Looks like just
I don't necessarily agree with this article, but I grabbed this article from Polygon because it was a recent article about the show.
The sentence doesn't make sense. How can you completely transform something and be faithful to it?
Yeah.
That's a weird. Hey, man, Bloodaxe sent me his best chili recipe. And in order to be faithful to his recipe, I made Alfredo. You know what I'm saying?
I think what I got from it, and I've gotten from some other people, is, well, the first anime wasn't truthful to the manga, but it used certain scenes, and so the reboot couldn't just be truthful to the manga, because if it was truthful to the manga, then
it would have been truthful to the manga.
It would repeat stuff from the first one. Of course, the ending of the first Trigun was done ahead of the manga, so the ending doesn't match for the manga. But I'll be honest, the manga, not bad. I enjoyed the manga, but honestly, the TV show, it pulled I don't know. It felt right. You know, it did a good job. I liked the sort of metal theme, you know, and it gave off the corniness, sort of lightened the mood a bit, because there was a lot of heavy parts and dark. So you had that little bit of corniness thrown in, and it made for a good show. Now, the new one seems to take that corniness out. It wants to be more serious. Which the problem with that is they still sort of give a crying, whiny Vash at times, which without that lightheartedness, he seems more like a wuss than a joke.
It's emo Vash.
Now, here's the thing, though. The first episode, they played that up, and then they sort of dropped it. Okay. And so he sort of has a little bit of a personality shift after the first episode, which was a little jarring. But overall, I will say it's not the worst anime I've ever watched. There are some good things about it. But generally, the people who say they were big fans of the original and thus are big fans of the new one, I don't get that. These things do not correlate, really. Like,
I'm gonna ask you a question. Because what you said, because not your fault, is what they said. Is just okay? You know what? You don't even have to be in an anime. Bloodaxe, you caught that weird statement, though. Okay, so this is supposed to be Trigun. Supposed to be Trigun Stampede. It's supposed to be about it. Okay. What the hell do you mean you don't want to repeat? Then don't do Trigun, or do another story. Am I wrong, Bloodaxe? You don't have to like anime to get that, right? If you decide that you're gonna tell the story of Luke Skywalker, and we're gonna go back and tell Luke Skywalker story in more detail, you're gonna have him meet Yoda. You can't not repeat scenes.
But you still want to be different enough. That dude, anytime.
Different enough and not want to repeat scenes are two different things.
Well, that was me. That was me saying that. I'm not saying. But, they're trying to vary enough. And. But
why? Then don't do a new story.
And, repeating scenes is one way not to be different. You know, it's not to repeat the same thing. There are characters in here that obviously are repeats. I'm still not sure why they threw out
Lindley.
Yeah.
Or Laney. I'm saying the right.
You were
Ellie?
saying the wrong name.
Ellie? Millie. I'm old, man.
Yeah, I think I'm so confused now.
No,
you
Millie.
Threw out this
Millie,
weird name.
Yeah, Millie. I think Millie.
All right.
So
anyway,
you wouldn't have to guess if she was in there. We'd know.
you took out this one character, which was weird, and replaced them with what? And this is why it's weird that it's not cheesy and jokey. when you name a character Roberto De Niro.
Yeah, Millie. You're right. Yeah,
I mean,
Roberto De Niro.
that is such a cheese joke, but yet you're not going with that theme. And so it's sort of off-putting. Now we'll say visually, I think it's beautiful visually. You can't handle the CGI so much.
Maybe
so,
after the first episode it gets better, but it felt very stuttery to me.
But I didn't get that.
It did not feel smooth to me. But
so
I only
thought
saw
it was
one
very,
episode.
very pretty. I actually like a darker theme. If it's pulled off correctly. I didn't feel like this was really pulled off very well. And then on top of that, the scenes seem to be too straightforward. They're not hiding anything. Like, I mean, immediately you get his history right at the beginning.
So you know what he is, who's there. Yeah.
And then then there's this whole thing. Well, there's this thing over, then the next episode, they tell you why and prove it, and I'm just like, okay, well, that's not going to be the thing. I don't know where we're going with this.
Wait, if you watch 4 episodes, was my theory right about why they were hunting him?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Yeah, see, that wasn't even a big. That was in the first episode. I figured out the big mystery almost.
Well, it wasn't
instantly.
a big mystery. They said it the next episode.
Yeah, and they showed it at the beginning.
So,
he's got a twin.
Yeah,
it ain't a big secret. He's got a twin.
Yeah,
they're looking for him. He's got a twin.
So I mean, yeah, no, they didn't hide anything.
Yeah, they didn't hide it. Ain't nothing. You watch
so
the show, you're gonna see
I
that.
don't know what the mystery is. Dude, they brought in Wolfwood, I think, in the 4th episode. Well, the manga, Wolfwood is actually not a good guy.
Yeah.
They reveal that he's after Vash in the same episode they introduced him.
Wow, they just ain't had
nothing.
nothing.
They didn't hide nothing.
Well, like I said, it's hard to have a mystery. We were like, why
Yeah.
is everyone looking
So
for
I'm like-
Vash when you show his twin?
Yeah. So I'm like, what
beginning?
is the mystery here? I have not figured it out. Bloodaxe, you said you have a take. Holy crap, on an anime. What's up, man?
Well, actually, I'm going to put it to you this way. I have an anime take that's going to reference a different anime.
Okay.
Imagine that one, right? So going back to what you guys are talking about, I don't know nothing about Trigun. So I'm not going to pretend to. I'm assuming it's about specific characters and not actually weapons or anything. So again, completely ignorant. But if you're going to have a new spin on something, you have to think about from the original content or the original source, what was the main focus? If it's about specific characters, you kind of need those specific characters. On the other hand, Voltron, it's about a robot. I don't care who you cast as the pilots. You can kill them all off as long as the robot's still there. My main focus is on the robot and the lions that form the robot. So when DreamWorks redid Voltron, it was pretty well done. Completely different story, similar characters, but the story was different, and that was cool. I didn't care that they swapped some characters around. They didn't do the story the way it was back in the 80s, but the robot and the lions and everything was still cohesive with what we originally remember as kids. So if you're going to redo something, you have to respect what the fans of that content appreciate. If it's character-based, you need to stay true to the characters. But if you're doing a whole new Jedi story and the Jedi are the focus and not the individual Jedi themselves, then yeah, you can do whatever you want to because the Jedi are the ones you're focusing on, which is why I think going back to the Old Republic era, as long as you're focusing on the Jedi and the way we've come to understand and appreciate Jedi, there's not a lot you can mess up with it. But you can't retell the Skywalker saga without including all the different main characters, whether it be Obi-Wan Kenobi, Vader's the father, all that kind of stuff. Spoiler alert, by the way. So you've got to keep all those within the story while you may have different paths to get to that end point. And that was my take on this, even though I know nothing about Trigun.
Oh, well said, man.
I will say one of the other things I noticed, we're talking about some of the hatefulness in cosplay earlier. You should read the comments of this anime now. I mean, the comments are horrible. Like anytime somebody says they don't like the anime, they get cussed out and told, well, they didn't even fucking watch it. Why don't you give more reasons? You know, you just can't say you don't like it and not give a reason. And then when somebody gives a reason, they're like, well, why are you even fucking watching it? Yeah. And it's just like, whoa.
Well, see,
so if I tell you why I don't like it, then I'm wrong for even watching it. And if I just say I don't really care for this, then I obviously didn't watch it.
Well, that's the thing, dude, is this. Like what Bloodaxe said that made a lot of sense there is these people don't want to do Trigun. They don't. They don't, because they go at it and the first thing they go is, we got to change everything. Why don't you go back? Like, I love Cowboy Bebop. You know what I think?
I will say they changed. I will say, I don't think they changed everything. I mean, they did have certain elements there.
Okay, I'm not just picking up. I'm talking about like these reboots.
A sort of a bad job.
But like, what I was going to do is I was going to put out a request on, build my way up some, like the Cowboy Bebop Netflix. You know what? I like that universe. There were other characters. Why don't you, instead of effing up Spike and everybody, why don't you follow another mercenary group? And then they had him guest star. You ain't gonna mess them up. They just show up every now and then. Why don't you go back to this world, and it's years later, and it could be a descendant of Vash. Heck, it could be Vash again if you know his secret, but it's a different story.
Yeah.
And that way you can do whatever you want, because it's 100 years later, and you ain't gotta have Millie. You ain't gotta have none of them. Like. That is a specific story where they could have told another Vash the Stampede story without retelling the one we knew. And thus, no one could yell at them because it's a new story. You can't go, you ruined it, because it's a new story.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what they're trying to do.
It's got the franchise.
I mean, from what I understand, what they're trying to do, and I mean, this is speculative, is they're trying to sort of rewrite the beginning so they can get to where, and this may be what this article was trying to allude to. They're trying to get to where the manga and the TV series sort of veered, the previous veered, and then go and tell that story. And if that's the case, then I mean,
then they should have started later in the story. Why start at the beginning?
I just would have probably Brotherhooded it, you know.
Brotherhood, like kind of hand wave the first part, get to your section.
And that's, I mean, if that was the case, I probably would have Brotherhooded and said, okay, this part was wrong, here. And this is let's do a catch up, and here you go.
Quick catch up. Here we are. We're starting on episode 12,
and then you could have been more faithful to the manga, like. You know,
it's pretty much what Hellsing did when they decided to go try to do it. They just said, "Yeah, you know that part. Here we go." You know, like that's the thing, is that I can't tell what they want anymore, because if that's what they wanted to do, they should have did it.
Yeah.
But when you try to retell the first part, because I mean, I'm pretty sure Millie was in the manga, wasn't she?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Taking a whole character out, you can't tell me you're trying to stay true to the story when you removed a whole character. Now, if she was added, which I don't know, I only watched the show. Then, you know what I mean? There's the manga one. See if she's in there. See Trigun manga specifically. Like, was she a character in there? I mean, if she wasn't, okay.
Let's see. Where are the characters?
Usually you could do a search and see. Well, I don't know. Yeah, that one doesn't list them out like that.
Now, this is, here we go. Wait. There. Characters.
Let's see, y'all. We're gonna do we're gonna do our homework.
Thompson. So yeah, these are the characters. There is no Roberto De Niro.
Well, that says the Trigun universe. Click on her and make sure she's in the manga. Give her a click. Let's be sure. We want to be thorough.
All right.
Appearance.
Oh, that's appearance. Debut episode 1. I don't see her manga appearance.
Maybe she is only in the anime.
But then again.
You know,
this also just shows episode 1, so this is not showing. This is just showing the TV series, though. Well,
I'm gonna do this crazy thing where I'm gonna say, is Millie in the manga? Yes, in the manga before that.
Yeah.
So nope, she is a manga character. So that kind of shoots that whole attempt. I get what you're trying to do. You're trying to give him a fair shake, but. They just shot it in the foot. They took Yoda out.
Well, like I said, I mean,
or they took out Han Solo, or Lando Calrissian. They took out a character while trying to say that they're trying to be true to it. It's like you took a whole friggin' character out. A character who had a big story arc with friggin' Wolfwood. Was one of the major parts that kind of changed it.
I don't know how much of that's true to the manga.
No, that's
true. I've not read the manga. I have read pieces of the manga and noticed that it was different and was like, oh, and then I looked up and said, okay, yeah, the show went off from the manga. Like I said, tried reading it near the beginning and I just couldn't get into it, so I never read it.
All right. Well,
but because the first taste of Trigon I had was the anime series, which was the first taste for a lot of people. I mean, that's why, the largest of its fan base, and that's why it's weird to go so far off from that series, is because the people who are going to return for the show, that's where they came from, most likely.
So, I mean, ultimately, you're saying that it's a decent anime. It's not as bad as people are saying, but it's not as good as people are saying?
Yes.
Well, I mean, sometimes mediocre is all you can hope for. There's cases where you're not mediocre.
Yeah. All right.
Segue.
So let's move into video games. I think the rest of the show is video games.
General discussions.
So I know Bloodaxe will be happier. So first up, there were several games released this week or in the last couple of weeks. Yeah. Last few weeks, but first up was Dead Space, the remake for Dead Space, which has been doing pretty damn good.
It didn't launch as high as Callisto Protocol, but unlike Callisto Protocol, it also didn't fall off a cliff very quickly after launch.
Yeah,
and honestly, yes, that's a better scenario. I mean, Saints Row, like we've talked about Saints Row, it had a strong launch, but then it died fast, and it looks like, Dead Space has maintained a steady pull, which is how you build a franchise. See, a big critique we've always had, both me and Bloodaxe have even talked about this, I think, quite a bit, as well as Zeno, where it's like, you don't want to get that instant gratification money, but then no one comes back. I mean, we said that about Outriders. We said that about a few games where it's like, you got to make people want to come back.
And one of the main reasons I want to bring up Dead Space is because we do normally talk down about remakes. Remakes are generally not that great.
We were just doing it.
Yeah, this one is actually doing pretty good at a 88.75%. 91% of 15,375 were positive.
And the key part is the number of views and the number of copies, because that was something we were discussing earlier. We're going to bring Bloodaxe in and get his opinion on it. When it comes to reviews, we're going to show you some more here in a minute. It's very important to look at more than just that percentage number, because an 80-90% score on a game that only has 1,000 reviews probably isn't very indicative if the game is actually good or not. Because of the small base, it may just be people that like that particular genre or that game, like one we're going to look at later, rating it, which gives it a good score. But then you find out nobody's playing the thing. Like, look at these numbers. People are playing Dead Space right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, you've got 14,000 people are playing it right now. You've got 10,000 people looking at it on Twitch right now with a 38,000 peak in the last 24 hours. 266,000 in 9 days ago, which is when it came out. So, I mean, you have interest, you have continued playership. So, anyway, the point is Callisto Protocol, which I think had a lot higher sales coming through the door, which honestly may have been why Dead Space didn't have as high as sales, is because same sort of...
And got burnt.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I know didn't even want to complete the game, man. Like, I watched all my favorite streamers, man. My YouTubers. I was watching Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and others play, and John Wolf. And, because some of them, man, didn't even want to finish it. Like, they finished it. Most of them did, but some of them were just like, I'm not playing that again. I have no interest to pick it up again. And they weren't having fun. And that's a bad sign. And if you're not having fun and it gets seen, bad sign.
But I mean, you can see that the peak is already double what Callisto Protocol's top
And
peak
way
was.
more people playing right now. Oh my goodness, way more people.
Yeah.
I mean, 14,000 versus 600. And 600 is bad.
Oh no, the game's dead.
637
60%. So
yeah, 637. That's you know what I'm saying. So I mean, that's an example. But also, we got big numbers showing that's a pretty realistic, like scoring. Whereas, like we got some others we can show where it's like you'll see a high rating. That is a nice little jump there. But
no, this is the day one. So day one, Callisto Protocol did 17,000 players on day one, where Dead Space
isn't really that many, huh?
On,
a lot of views though, but looks like more people were watching than playing by quite a big factor.
Yeah. Which they averaged, 30,000 on day one. So they actually got a much higher day one even. So
yeah,
anyway,
it started stronger.
Yeah, no, Dead Space definitely did well. So kudos to them on a remake that actually seems to have worked.
Well, they picked a game that I think had room for improvement. That's the thing. A remake is not a sin. It's just if you're going to remake it, first of all, try to make it better. And I don't mean, no, don't try to make it different. I said try to make it better. Dead Space, when it first came out, was a really good game. But, it was room for improvement because it was the first game. Fairly new game. They went back. They polished it. Dude, I wish they would do this from other games. I'd love to play a remastered BioShock that was put out at this level of skill.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Man, I love
dude.
BioShock with better mechanics and new voice lines, a little bit extra content, but still is the game I love. Love it. Dude, BioShock is one of my favorite games to play. It's an amazing game. And it would be great, but the thing is, you know what I haven't heard anybody say about Dead Space? That they went and got weird with it. They went and started changing odd things. It's like, no, they did the stuff that people kind of wanted to see. That's how you do it. So it's not impossible. Because that ain't the biggest. Who makes Dead Space? Who's the company that makes Dead Space?
Dead Space is made by...
It just store patient.
Motive.
Motive.
Electronics Arts is the publisher.
See, if EA could do something, right?
But yeah, Motive is the developer, which Motive does not a lot of things. Well, they've done Star Wars Squadrons.
Dude, they got 3 games.
Yeah, Star Wars Squadrons.
And 2 of those games are Dead Space.
And Dead Space.
They've done 3 games, and 2 of them are technically the same game.
Well, one's the deluxe edition, and one's the game.
Oh, yeah, there you go. Oh,
so,
yeah.
2 games.
So they didn't even do the original. Yeah, you're right. So this just shows that it's possible. In fact, it now makes me look really funny at these big studios that can't do it. Because I'm like, wow, really? Motive making big dogs look bad. For once EA got lucky. They didn't kill that company before it could actually finish its project and make something decent. EA is the small company killer. Buy it, shut it down. So
yeah.
All right. So Sean, let's look at another games that's came out. We got some more on there.
So
we're not out of time
one
yet.
That came out was Forspoken.
It's been Forsaken, but
yeah. We actually talked about this one before it came out. Obviously, user reviews 3.5. This is what we predicted. We looked at the trailer. We said the voice acting is horrible. That dialogue is horrible.
The first line she said, we both looked at the camera. And we're just like, ooh.
And so we were hoping that they may clean some of that up. Apparently, they did not, as the reviews have definitely been heavy on basically cringe writing for dialogue. Unlikable protagonist.
Yeah, they went with the Resident Evil style of let's make the main character insufferable.
Yeah, Frey is an unlikable main character.
And I hate this because it makes it hard to tell if the actress
Frey's
is any good.
Frey's personality is dead. Boring, terrible, awful.
And I feel bad for the actress because I haven't been following her, but I don't know what kind of person she is.
Probably the worst writing in a video game since that awful Duke Nukem game that we all want to forget.
How dare he bring that up? But I don't know, because this is typecasting, and Bloodaxe called it. He said typecasting, which makes a lot of sense. They're typecasting her as an insufferable person, and not in a good way. Not that love to hate villain. No, just the hate.
Well, no, they're putting
know.
the insufferable protagonist, which don't work. Your protagonist has to be somebody who can be related to in some way or another, somewhat likable. Doesn't have to be. You don't want the goody two shoes super, because that's not real life either. But you got to have something you can relate to.
We've had jerk protagonists.
Yeah.
But you need to at least be able to Ryan Reynolds it and be funny and a bit charming with it. You can't just be a jerk. Heck, we've even had the jerk. I mean, if you go watch The Boys, some of those guys are just like the guys you're rooting for are jackasses. But still, at least somewhat, you can go,
I don't know
well,
if you're
there's
really
a story.
rooting for them, but
The main characters, they're trying to take down the superheroes who are jerks.
I don't know if
They are pretty bad too, yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they even have that broken quality where you kind of find out why they're like that.
There's also just there's not a specific main character.
True.
This is the problem, and when you have a wide variety of you can play with it more. But when you're focusing on a main character like this, you have there's a very delicate line in which you have to walk, and that's why that's why I like games with choices. Is because games like Skyrim, you sort of create your own personality to relate to. And once again, this is one of those things. So, they were like, well, there's not a lot of dialogue options. Well, when there's not dialogue options, a lot of dialogue options, you can't relate really well either.
And the bad news is, though, there is a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of dialogue options.
There's a lot of dialogue. There's not a lot of dialogue options.
Before Bloodaxe jump in, look at Kratos. Kratos is never presented as a decent person.
No.
And yet, you were able to get in it because he was wrong. You know why he's mad. He's at fault as well, but you get into the revenge story.
Well, yeah, I was about to say, it's a revenge story. Because
they introduced a bigger douche, like Ares,
and
they
made the other people bigger douches.
And you're like well, this guy's a jackass, but Ares deserves everything he's gonna get.
Yeah.
Well, and here it's like she's a jerk.
Also,
and no one else is really a jerk but her.
Also, once again, not a lot of dialogue. Once
True.
Again, dialogue heavy. And when you make that sort of silent character, you can get away with a lot more.
Yeah, because you could go, I'm doing this because of this. That's what I'm doing, yeah. But when a person goes, I ain't doing this because of this. I hate everybody. Your face is ugly. Okay, I guess I'm not. Well, maybe I'm not as bad. She can't be that bad, can she? I hate you and no one loves you. Oh, wow. Okay, all right. Every time you open your mouth, I get reminded you're a terrible person. And that's kind of her. It's like every scene, she's so mean to everybody. She's a bully. Because she has all this massive magic power. She doesn't want to help me. She's a bully.
Now,
nobody likes a bully.
To prefix this.
Oh, yeah.
I have not played the game. But going by the user reviews
and I've listened to a lot of the dialogue.
And yes, I have watched some video on it, and I see where people are coming from. It does not seem to be playworthy.
Every interaction, unless there's a whole bunch of A+ interactions off screen, which could be the case, you never know. But the ones that people are seeing and showing are the worst conversations I've sat through. Mm-hmm. And I feel bad for the actress. And that says a lot because she ruined Resident Evil, but then she didn't write it.
So mostly before you go out and spend your money on this, you may want to jump on Twitch or something like that. Try to find somebody who's playing it.
Watch an hour or two,
and watch an hour or two and see if you can suffer through it or not.
Because, it's put it like this. Supposedly it's bad enough to make you not able to play the game. That's how bad the dialogue is. What do you think, buddy? We know your patience. You can't handle Wonderlands.
Well, no, but there are different reasons for that. And as we were discussing before the show, having someone with really bad dialogue and you try to overcome the bad dialogue with just excessive cursing is just lazy writing, in my opinion. You can make a character, even though they're vile or they're ruthless, you can make them interesting with good, smart dialogue. In the typecasting discussion, I brought up an example of Juan Carlo Esposito. For those of you who don't know who that is, he played. He was in The Mandalorian. He was actually in The Boys as one of the leaders over the the Seven. But he was also a ruthless character in a TV show called Revolution, which I watched back in the day. But he was typecast as a very similar character throughout all three of those series. Very smart, very cutthroat, really didn't care about anything except for getting his objective completed. And then you spin around and you cast him in the Death Cure, part of the Maze Runner series, and he's a likable guy. He's kind of a leader of the rebellion. And if you watch interviews with him, he's always laughing, cutting up, and seems like a genuinely good guy outside of those roles that he has excelled at. And as Q was saying before the show, if you're only getting typecast as the same character and you can't prove any breadth or depth or any kind of range, there's probably reasons why you're being cast as that character. That's because that's the way you are as a human being outside. Now, do we know this? No. But if I hadn't have seen different faces of Juan Carlo Esposito in different movies and interviews, I originally would have thought he was just an asshole. But he's actually seems like he's enjoying getting into those characters, and so that's why I have a lot of respect for actors that have that kind of a dynamic ability to be able to cast and portray different character types.
All right. So yeah, last thing I will say, it does actually seem to have a decent 1,382 viewers right now on Twitch, with 3,685 in the last 24 hours. So
it ain't Dead Space numbers, but it ain't terrible.
Yeah, I mean it's better than some.
Well, it's better than one in particular.
Yeah, but anyway, the point is yeah. There's enough controversy behind this. If you were thinking about getting it, definitely try to watch some and see if it's gonna fit.
I mean, you might be a gameplay person, and I hear the gameplay is not too bad. Once you get some more spells, like once you get past initial spells, I hear it gets fun.
Yeah,
the magic.
Yeah, but on the other end, I hear that the world is relatively empty and there's not a lot going on.
And the first set of spells suck. I've heard also the first, like you want to get to the second set, then it gets a lot better.
Yeah,
but if you can't handle that kind of dialogue, bad story, or you're looking for more story and a more filled world, you may want to watch a playthrough and see if this is really up to it, because it's a full price game. It's a full price game, and I just hate to see people blast all their money out, and because not everybody can buy 3 or 4 games, so you got to pick the right game. Unless you got Game Pass, in which case you get good stuff all the time. You ain't got to make these decisions.
Well, speaking of Game Pass, next game that we want to talk about that came out recently is Hi-Fi Rush. Now, I will say I'm not a rhythm game guy.
It's like Devil May Cry meets a rhythm game is what my friends are telling me, who are seriously suggesting this game to me.
Action platformer 3D, so yeah. Like I said, not really my thing. But had hella good reviews, and they even said, which I found interesting, was even though the game is on Game Pass, it has sold a ton on Steam, way over expected. Which I have noticed PC does seem to still, sell copies more so than the Game Pass. Game Pass seems to be people who have the console and the PC are just using it for console. Not a lot of people just using it for PC.
Also, games go off of Game Pass, so sometimes you go buy a game that you really liked, because you're not going to keep it.
The Steam score on this is even higher than its Metacritic score, with over 7,100 positive reviews and only 145 negative reviews. But once again, I think this is one of those things where it's that way because it's true to itself. Like, it didn't try to hide what it was. It's like, this is a rhythm game. It's, this. And, I was able to quickly look at it and go, all right, well, that's not really for me. So I'm not going to give it a bad review because I played a game that I really wasn't going to like to begin with, and which I normally wouldn't. Even if I got a game and it wasn't my type of game, I don't normally give it a bad review because it's not my type of game. Where Forspoken is sort of my type. I like open world RPG, adventure type games. So if I would have ended up getting that, I would have given it a bad score, but if it was not good. Where if I would have gotten this game and didn't enjoy it, it just would have not been my cup of tea. So I wouldn't have reviewed it. So yeah, man, you ought to play it. Let us know what it's like, Q.
I mean, I've gotten it suggested to me. I've been playing a huge amount of Monster Hunter Rise, but I may take a break to give it a go just because I had it compared as far as quality level to Bastion, which I consider to be possibly one of the best game I've ever played in my life.
Yeah, Bastion is awesome, yeah.
Bastion is incredible. And to get that kind of praise from somebody deserves me to at least take a peek at it. So I'll probably, before the week is out, hopefully before next weekend, we'll at least sat down and done an hour or two. But I'm one of those kind of sets of tights. It's hard to pull away from a game I'm really running on, and I'm not quite done with Monster Hunter Rise yet.
Yeah.
But there's an example of another game that came out that's doing really well. And, I mean, I have to say, I think this might be a win for Xbox this week or two, just because Forspoken seems to be a game of high controversy, whereas Hi-Fi Rush was a sleeper hit nobody saw coming and ended up just dominating. And it's on Game Pass.
Yeah.
So you didn't even come out your pocket extra. It came with Monster Hunter Rise.
If you had Game Pass, yeah, you're not coming out.
If you had it. And, I mean, when you combine this with Monster Hunter Rise, which I consider to also been a great game. I mean, we've been playing a lot. Yeah. I mean, you're playing it as much as I am. He's actually matching me or passing me on hours on a Game Pass game. That's rare.
It's a $30 game to begin with on this. So even if you don't have Game Pass, you're not spending that $60, $70 for this game.
When you can get a good game and you're not spending like Forspoken money, where you're going to pay like, I'm pretty sure Forspoken's AAA full price. So probably half the price of that, you can get this on Steam, or you can, for the price of a month or two, you can get, because you can probably, this is an action game, you can complete this in a month or two, So yeah, you come out cheaper. And I mean, I'm not even doing my usual fanboying. I'm just calling it like it is. I mean, if PlayStation Forspoken had knocked it out the box, is Dead Space across multiple platforms?
Dead Space, yeah.
Dead Space.
So.
If Dead Space is PlayStation only, then that'd be a good competitor to say that they about tied this week. But right now, I think Xbox had a better February, late January with those two games that hit. Even though Monster Hunter Rise did come out on PlayStation as well, but I don't think it came out as part of any kind of their gameplay. I don't know.
So, I mean, from Xbox, yeah, it says it's a 12-hour game, 18-hour completionist. So, yeah, not a lot of time to put into the game, which makes sense why it's $30,
A 2-3 day game, yeah.
I do like that. Have you seen that feature on the Xbox where it actually tells you the hours that it's like? If you're just doing the main story, it's about 10 hours. If you're doing the main plus some side quest type stuff, it's about 12 hours. But if you're
playing Bloodaxe mode, it's 18 hours.
Yeah. So.
Hey, what you talking about? You're a completionist. You're that guy that's got to get every achievement.
If it's a game I enjoy.
You don't play the ones you don't like. We know that. You haven't been back on Monster Hunter Rise.
Well, we all know my love for Japanese-style anime, that kind of stuff, and it's just hard for me to get into.
It's fighting monsters with a big sword.
Yeah. It's repetitive. It's
Gears is repetitive. What did you just say? Did you call it repetitive?
Yeah.
Kiss my...
I think last thing we were going to bring up is one game that I guess we missed along the way. You were like, oh...
Yeah, like we were like, hey, that came out.
And that was Marvel's Midnight Suns, which is the XCOM-like Marvel game, X-Men game.
It's got a decent score.
And we were looking at it and was like, okay, 77%. That's not bad, not great.
Not as a lot of reviews, though. I would have thought a Marvel game would be bigger. But it's got like same reviews as Midnight as the one we just watched, the Hi-Fi one, which is...
Well, once again,
like a third party.
I think this is another one of those times. I mean, they were not shy to say this is an XCOM-like game. So, with it being an XCOM-like game, it has a certain appeal. I
heard something about an action card system, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, you're not going to
immediately
see a huge base. Now, it's I'm surprised it was a $60 game, but.
I didn't see anything that said it should be worth $60.
Yeah.
It looks like a $40. I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just saying XCOM games are not known for incredible graphics, sounds, or advanced, tricky gameplay. They're tactical games, and they're not on the par with like Total Warfare, where they're mass combat. Squad tactical games, to me, should never really get up to $60-$70, man. That's just being honest.
Well, they've also been known for their crazy math, so. I mean, that's always been my problem with XCOM games. XCOM games, that system. Now, I mean, I don't think
90%,
I don't
90%
think
in XCOM.
I don't know if these people are using the XCOM engine or if they built their own. But it just seems like all these games, like as a number cruncher, you go through and it's telling you 91%, and I'm calculating in my head how often I miss and all that, and I'm like, it's more like 60%, you know.
I've told you what I figured out. I believe XCOM rolls a D100 but adds 40 because that's the way the numbers really play out. Because I've missed 99% in an XCOM.
40.
But no, if you have a 90% chance to hit and you miss, then that means they're adding 40.
Yeah, I guess on what end you're going on.
But, like, my thing is that, and I mean, I'm serious. I played the Shadowrun games, which use the same engine, and I missed 91, 95, and 99% so often that I said, there is no way that I miss half my shots. One time I missed a whole clip, used a machine gun, rapid fire, shot like 6 bullets.
In my head, I always calculate low. So, like, if you have a 90% chance of hitting, then 1 through 10 is a miss, and
oh, Jesus.
Above
all right,
10.
you're fired from making the game system. That's your math. You go confuse everybody. That sucks. But the key part is XCOM system has always felt a little unreliable in the way it calculates things. Like, it's just you can't trust the percentages. They don't feel like they average out.
Yeah.
No, that's not. That's just an opinion. And there's many XCOM fans who are already deciding they're going to come after me. But don't worry, they're going to miss. So I'm safe. But the thing is, the game has its fans. But it's like I said, it came out in December, and I found out it was out like a few weeks ago when somebody finally posted a video and then did no more videos. So interest is low. Like, how many people are watching it?
Oh, let's see. On the charts, 102 viewers.
Oh, there you go. See, that's the reason nobody's watching. There might be people playing it, but there are nobody watching it. It's not fun to watch. And I think that's why it kind of became a sleeper game. It came out, snuck out, got a decent reviews. But
well, I'm not a big watching people play video games anyway, but I will say one of the most painstaking things to watch have been those XCOM-like games, man.
Tacticals and XCOM.
Yeah, tactical games to me are the most painful. Well, because there's not as much story in a tactical game usually. If depending on how good the person is.
Downtime, a lot of downtime.
You can do a lot of downtime, and you going back, measuring distances a lot of times, all that stuff. That's a little painful to watch, man, especially with me who can do, like you, can do math pretty quickly in our heads. We're just like, no, this is the best option. This is it right here. I've already done the math.
Dude, we came up on Palladium, D&D, all the tactical games, man. So, I can run numbers quick.
Yeah, so it's painful for me to watch these, more so than anything else.
Then after all the calculations, because it's XCOM, you're like, all right, I got the angle, 99% chance.
Yeah.
Miss. It's like, what? I still think, okay, I got to tell the story. We'll finish on this. Favorite Shadowrun story. I'm all the way across a map. I have a sniper build. I have an automatic or like semi-automatic sniper. It fires like, I think, a 3-5 round burst. It says that I have like a 95% chance to hit for the burst. Fire it. All the shots miss. The enemy on the other side, because you could actually see this revert, had like a 5% chance to hit. He shot me 2 times in the face and critted both shots. And I said, yep, that's XCOM. And I uninstalled it, and I have never completed the Shadowrun, the later ones, because I was one of the later ones that did that. I beat the first one. It was pretty good. But I think it was Shadowrun Returns.
Save Scrum, man. Save Scrum. That's all I got to say. And
no, it isn't that I died. It was just the insult. It was just too much. I was just like, I missed 95%.
Well, no, the reason I say save Scrum is like if you want the perfect run, you can take that 1% shot, save Scrum it, and you will Because I will say, it works both ways. The 95% shot misses way too often, but the 5% shot hits
He's not
way too
wrong.
often,
I've
too.
went like, man, I only got 10% chance. Plop.
Yeah.
What the? Like, I almost think that they had just reversed it, like dyslexia. Like, they reversed all the numbers. I was like, did they reverse all the statistics in this game on accident? Maybe they were showing me the mischance. Maybe it was me. Maybe what the number wasn't a hit, it was a mischance.
It's almost like they took percentages and decided to make a bell curve out of it, you know?
Best thing to do is be in the middle. You know what hits the most often? 50-60. That's the most reliable number in that game for some reason. But all right, so we showed you a little bit of what's out. I don't think we missed any. We covered most of what we've seen it hit. I mean, but the one thing we were going to say is, like, this is a good example, though, of 77%, but really low numbers. Leads me to wonder where this game would really hit outside of its fan base.
Well, yeah.
I feel like that's a fan base score we're seeing, not a overall market score.
I mean, I think your action adventure games are probably the only game that can sort of cross fan bases a lot of times. So it's action RPG, action adventure. I've seen those cross fan base where somebody goes, man, I really wouldn't thought I was going to be into that. When it comes to XCOM-like strategy games, you're not crossing a fan base, man.
True.
People aren't playing it because it's Marvel. People are playing it because it's an XCOM-like game.
Well said. That's what's going on there. They're coming because they're XCOM veterans, and they're getting to try a different flavor.
Probably most of those negative reviews are people who tried it because
they're fans of Marvel. I'm going to get to play Wolverine, and they're just standing there, and the little action card comes up, and they're like, I want to stab the guy. What button do I hit to stab the guy? Why did I miss? It said I had a knife.
Yeah.
Bloodaxe, man, what you got on this? Close us out, Bloodaxe. What you got?
I haven't even heard of this game coming out, so that shows you my level of of paying attention to it. But I've never played XCOM. I know that Zeno's boy Damien did a lot of XCOM stuff back in the day. I think he would probably have a better opinion on something like this than I would. But I keep waiting for a new Marvel Ultimate Alliance type style Marvel game to come out where you can really just go ham with your friends playing superheroes. That couch co-op feel. That's what I keep waiting on. And until that happens, we'll try some of these if they come out on Game Pass, but I'm not dropping $60 on a game that I'm not really interested in.
Gotcha, man. All right, well, we'll wrap it up there. Be sure to check us out at Dicejunkies.com, where you find links everywhere we are online, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, Facebook, all that good stuff. Be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can see everything that we post online at YouTube. And as every week,
we hope you enjoy.